Destiny, thy name is Custom Card Guy. For those of you familiar with the channel, you know that last month I released my custom card take on Arcana Force support. Well, that timing couldn't have been more perfect because Konami just dropped theirs, and boy, do I have thoughts. So, they've got 3 monsters, 5 cards overall. The 3 monsters are split up, 2 into the main deck, 1 in the extra. So let's start off with the main deck ones, the Hierophant and the Sun. These are 2 major Arcana that I also use for my lineup. I used a few more. So that's not the crazy part because there's only so many major Arcana that will inspire Arcana Force monsters. What's crazy, and by crazy I mean a crazy, let's call it a coincidence, is the effects. So Hierophant's first effect is discard, and for the rest of the turn, your opponent can respond to your Arcana Force monsters when they are summoned to the field. So that allows you to basically get your coin flip effects off because they all activate when those Arcana Force monsters are summoned. So it helps you get through Omni Negators, hand traps, and whatever other counters your opponent may have, letting you build out your combo unimpeded. Now, it's the coin toss effect that really perked my ears, as well as many of yours, because you went back and commented the same thoughts that I had on my Arcana Force video, where heads, special summon 1 level 4 or lower Arcana Force monster from your deck with a different name from the monsters you control in your grave. Tails, special summon 1 Arcana Force monster from your deck to your opponent's field. Now, if we take a look at mine, we'll find, shall we say, some similarities where the heads effect is a search instead of a summon, and the tails effect summons to your opponent's field from the hand or grave instead of from the deck. Apart from the effects being similar, we are also aligned on adding this summon to your opponent's board effect because that is a gimmick that I think flows very smoothly with the Arcana Force strategy, and Konami seems to have agreed with that, but we'll get to more on that in a second. Let's jump down now to the Sun. So the Sun has a self-summoning ability. If you control a card with a coin-tossing effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. And then its coin-tossing effect for the head, you can set 1 spell from your deck that has a coin-tossing effect. Its tails is destroying all cards in the back row. So to that end, my Sun, it was different on the coin toss. It has a self-summoning ability as well, but that was different too, where instead of just an inherent summoning ability, it was summoned from the hand when you activated a spell or trap that had a coin tossing effect, allowing you to dictate the result of it. And then the coin toss effect is very much different, where they add in an extra search, and then as well as a back row destruction effect, whereas mine was more about building out your combo with the targeting protection effect, as well as the tails effect being the additional normal summon. So some different thoughts there, just depends on what your tastes are and how you're building out the deck. This deck seems to have a lot of search power. So now we get to the Chaos Ruler, Arcana Force EX, the Chaos Ruler. This is the fusion monster, the new boss of the deck. Materials are 3 Arcana Force monsters with different names. Now, I went with a link because I was being extra on the whole arrow pointing effect. But as the comments pointed out in my video, a fusion monster makes sense for a GX era deck. So here we are with the Contact Fusion monster. This one, its heads effect is that you special summon a level 10 Arcana Force monster from your hand or deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. So that's going to be your Light Ruler and your Dark Ruler. And then tails, you add 1 card that has a coin tossing effect from your deck to your hand. So just a generic search, not just for coin tossing effects, but really just basically anything in the Arcana Force archetype. And then it has a final effect where your opponent cannot activate monster effects on the field while Light Barrier is in the field zone. So it doesn't have an Omni Negate, but it does have a pretty strong floodgate against your opponent when you're able to pair it with Light Barrier. So my thoughts on this is that I like that it loops in the Light Ruler and the Dark Ruler. The Dark Ruler in particular, as you saw from my video and the demonstration, is a great card for the deck because it can easily OTK. The Tails effect being a search effect, I'm not too big on because I think all these cards here, all of them have a search effect. And then you also already have Arcana reading. So I feel like they could have used something else for that Tails effect. But then the last effect also kind of helps capture what I was going for with the Omni Negate on my Judgment card, which is that you're able to block out your opponent, at least for monster effects. I don't like the extra dependency on Light Barrier. I was trying to get away from that, but that's probably fine. I think this card is a pretty good boss for the deck. Now let's jump down to the spells. Kind of surprised they didn't really just adapt the anime exclusives or go with more tarot card references, but the anime references are fine too, and that seems to be the theme for a lot of this new GX era support, like Yubel, like the Evil Heroes. So first is the Wave of Light, which keeps its effects every turn you have Light Barrier But during your standby phase, if you don't have light barrier in the field zone, then you toss a coin, and if the result is tails, then it loses its next two effects until the next standby phase. Those other two effects are fairy monsters you control gain 300 attack and defense, so that's a little nifty effect to have. And then the other effect is you can discard one card, add two Arcana Force monsters with different names from each other from your deck to your hand. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of the turn except Arcana Force monsters. So, like I was saying, a lot of strong search power in this new wave of support. I'm also curious because it says add two Arcana Force monsters with different names, but we know that from the existing pool of support that there aren't really any monsters to write home about. So the best ones would be the Hierophant, the Sun, and then the Fiend that was released more recently. But as far as the OG class is concerned, like what are you really trying to search out with Wave of Light? Maybe one of the Dark or Light Ruler, maybe the Fool. I mean, there are options there. It's just it makes me think that there is more support yet to come. I think they may eventually adapt Strength or the Hangman, which are two more anime exclusives. So stay tuned to see if there would be more Arcana Force support coming down the line. And then finally, we have Arcana Spread. So this is a normal spell that, like Arcana Reading, is based on a coin toss, but if you have Light Barrier, you can choose the effect. Has special summon one level 4 or lower Arcana Force monster from your deck. Tail special summon one monster from your grave that has a coin tossing effect. Then it has a grave effect where you can banish it to add one coin tossing card from grave to hand. So this is sort of like a piecemeal of the different cards that I had in my custom support, Wand of Ace, Selection of Fate, and Sword of Ace all rolled into one. Overall, it's a good card, but again, it makes me think that there is going to be more support coming down the line because there aren't too many worthwhile level 4 or lower Arcana Force monsters, especially since this requires you to summon it to your side of the field. It would have been interesting if they allowed you to summon to your opponent's side of the field as well. But if you are summoning to your side, you have Hierophant, Sun, Fiend. They're both higher than level 4. So then again, you have cards like Lovers, Fool. They have okay effects. It's just you're gonna have to stack your deck with them and run the potential risk of drawing cards that otherwise suck in your hand. So that's why I'm thinking that there may be more cards coming down the pipe. So overall thoughts, I'm glad they didn't cater this to making the deck spam the world, though I do think there may be some issues with the fact that Hierophant isn't a hard once per turn. That seems pretty overpowered for an effect that can summon from the deck, even if it is to your opponent's side of the field, especially if future support takes more advantage of the cards that you can bring out to your opponent's side. And then it looks like the go-to play for the deck is going to be bring out Chaos Ruler, right? You can say, for example, you spread to summon Hierophant, Hierophant summons another monster, and then you still have your normal summon for the turn, or you self-summon the Sun from your hand, and you got 3 bodies on board. And then the Chaos Ruler can get you your Dark Ruler or your Light Ruler, or get you a search of any coin tossing card. So yeah, like I said, fully expect to see more Arcana Force cards coming down soon, particularly 1 or 2 more monsters, and maybe even level 4 ones to really take advantage of not only Wave of Light, but Spread as well. I think we'll see a mini boss maybe, if not adapting Strength or Hangman into mini boss effects, then maybe they'll have an adaptation of Judgment. And I would like to see some of the anime exclusive cards adapted as well. So overall, still a lot of source to work with. Maybe we'll get 3 to 5 more cards to round out what we have here. And that tends to be the case with these legacy support batches where they drop a collection of cards like with Exodia or Shining Sarcophagus. There was like 9 right off the bat with each of those. And then a little while later, they drop a couple more cards to really round it out. So I think that's what we'll end up getting with here. And then with those future cards, again, I'd like to see this deck go beyond just search and summon spam and introduce some more creative effects that really gives the deck more tricks and a unique style of play. But let me know what you guys think.